So let me introduce you to Shroud of the Avatar. Players of my older games might recognize the fact that this is a 2-scale world. So we're now seeing the outdoor map where you can see this gypsy wagon traveling around. There's cities or towns to go visit, other points of interest around. And there's sort of a fog of war that reveals the map as we explore. And if we go to one of the points of interest, we can then enter it. And we'll change to the second mode of activity, which is to see the world in more of a third-person, over-the-shoulder camera. For example, here's a little cottage nearby that if I open this cottage up and go on the inside, you'll see not only lots of detailed decorations and things, but a variety of interactive objects. Like, for example, in this case, the piano that I can come and interact with. And as with a lot of my other previous games, there'll be times where that's just fun, busy work, and there'll be times where there'll be something you can actively do there that will be relevant to the plot line of the story. Here is an empty lot in this particular town. If I go click on this, this for sale flag, it brings up the house buying interface where I can come in here and select what type of home, all the way up to a full retail shop that I might want to buy here. And now have a place of my own here in this town. Since this is a town, the kind of habitation areas tend to be broken up into farming villages or more of these middle-class towns like here, or up to the even bigger cities, the kind of protected city environments. And in this case, the town has basically a tic-tac-toe-like grid where the center of the town is public services like retail, but around the perimeter is housing that players can own. Sure. And there'll be more of that in the villages and less of it in the cities, which are more, kind of game managed. But if I go out into the outdoor environment, let me go take you over to another area. For example, here is a gypsy camp. Let me go up to this gypsy camp. And you'll be able to see some of the kind of virtue behavior testing that I put into my games a lot. For example, as I come down the hill here, you might have heard these wolves here baying behind me. That's because these kids over here are concerned about these wolves coming closer and closer to the encampment. And so if I want to, I can turn around here and try to run off these wolves or dispatch them here to get them out of their way. And let's see here. Use one of my advanced attacks here to dispatch those wolves. And sure enough, if I come back here and I talk to Susan here, she says, "Oh, thank you for dispatching the wolves. Please take my wedding ring as a gift because it's the only thing I have." And so I can either accept it or say, "No, thanks, you keep it." So in this case, I'll say, "You keep it." And of course, that tells the game a little bit about my personality. Am I really here to min-max? Or am I here to really do the right thing? Right. And similarly, as I go around the rest of the little encampment here, here's Nuri, the mother of the encampment, and she welcomes me here and says, "Hey, we're quite poor, but we try to sell ducks in order to make a living. Would you like to buy one?" And if I do, in this case, she says, "Thank you very much." So I've now helped them out economically, and plus I've got a source of food myself. And if I talk to the father, he also notes, "Thank you very much for buying from us," and how much that they've been down on their luck and how much I'll be helping them. But just as I do that, here comes a band of skeletons who's coming in from the hills, and he goes, "Oh no, I was hoping our luck had turned, but not quite yet." And so that gives me a chance to, once again, kind of show that I'm here not just as a passerby, but potentially to really help them out or to help out the common folk. And by the way, this gypsy camp could just as easily have been an ambush of me. It could have been, that they were attacking someone else and I could come rescue someone else. There's all kinds of ways these scenarios can be created and play out. But in this case, since I've now come and helped them, he says thank you again, and he gives me a key to over here to this this chest of supplies they have here, and asks me to, please feel free, to take whatever I'd like as a reward for having helped them. And so that's just one kind of example of how a scenario plays out. And As we go around this map, you know, some of these points of interest are static, but some are mobile. So like this is a moving caravan that if I encounter that caravan, it would go into an encounter like the one we saw.
Right.
Also, if I had friends playing the game, they would be moving encounters like I am a moving encounter on this map. If my friend had gone into a point of interest, I would see that that point of interest was occupied, and I could join him by going in right behind it. You don't have to party or form a group. It just happens ad hoc.
Follow him around.
Just follow each other around, and if I go in the same entrance, I'm in the same instance. And so it sort of ad hoc pairs people as they move around the world. And while most of what I've shown you has been kind of medieval swords and sorcery style, in fact, here's a dragon actually circling around this area of town. You notice this other little village I can't quite get to because it's on an island. Has a little Tesla tower on top of it that is creating a protective shield around it. And we're bringing in a little bit of technology on top, as if technology is just beginning to become evolved in the world. And what that lets us do is it lets us set up protected cities where you can have a house in a relatively safe zone, or if you go further out into the field where it might be more valuable, you actually have to start homesteading in more and more dangerous areas. But of course, we also do have dungeons and catacombs and such indoor spaces for me, also to explore, either alone or with my friends as well. There, I see some guys around the corner here. And while right now, just in this prototype, the combat is fairly simple, basically click to attack. I have a shortcut key in here to some of my more advanced attacks as well. But we have a much more sophisticated, skill-based combat system that just wasn't quite ready for demonstration purposes, but allows you to collect a group of advanced skills that you want to be able to invoke during a combat, and then they will kind of make themselves available to you during combat based upon how you have prepared that stack of skills before entering combat. So it's not just a make a shortcut bar with my min-max capabilities up front. You know, I've always made gateways to help you travel across the world quickly. And here you can see in this case, around these standing stones, each of those stones has a phase of the moon on it. And if we look up into the sky, we have a full moon right now. And so this stone, which has a full moon on it, is the one where you see this arc going out to this lunar rift. And through the rift, you can see through to another town. And that camera is actually in that other town. And so as the phases of the moon change, it actually changes which gateways these portals take you to. And you can just look up in the sky and directly see it, or come in here and look over here at the stone itself and look through right to the other place in the world that you'll go if you step through this portal. But anyway, that's a little brief overview of the parts and pieces of Shroud of the Avatar.